Now, a hydrate is a compound made up of a molecule bound to water. In the molecular formula for hydrates, this composition is represented by that dot you see. It just means that for every molecule of CuSO4 copper sulfate, there is a certain number of water molecules bound to it. Our job in this lab is to figure out what that ratio is, or in other words, what is the value of X. To do this, we're going to figure out what percent of the hydrate is water. After measuring the initial mass, we're going to heat up the hydrate so that all the water evaporates, leaving us with the final mass that is just the copper sulfate. We can then use the final and initial masses to find the percent water by mass of the hydrate, and ultimately, we can use moles to figure out what X is. So, let's get started.
Okay, so the materials that you're going to need for this experiment is first, tripod stand. Okay, so this is tripod stand. And then we're going to need clay triangle, or you can use wire gauze. Okay, so either clay triangle or wire gauze. And then we have crucible together with the lid. This is crucible tongue, lighter, spatula, Bunsen burner, and also the materials that we're going to use is hydrated salt. Okay, so we have two hydrated salt here. The first one is copper sulfate and the second one is barium chloride. Okay, so the first step is you have to wash the crucible. And then hand dry it with paper towel. After that, we are going to heat this crucible and lid with Bunsen burner, okay, to remove any excess moisture from the crucible. Make sure you position the lid slightly tight, okay, leaving only a small opening for gases to escape. Okay, allow this crucible to cool at room temperature before we wet the mass. Okay, so record the mass of empty crucible with lid. Next, we're going to add around 2 to 3 grams of hydrated salt inside this crucible. Got the final mass, okay, of hydrated salt, crucible and lid. Alright, so next we're going to place the crucible, okay, with the hydrated salt on this wire gauze, okay, and we're going to position the lid so that there's a small opening, okay. Make sure it is small, okay. Too large opening will allow the hydrate to spatter out of the crucible, okay. So now we're going to heat the crucible. We're going to heat it very gently for 1 minute, and then we're going to continue to heat with a moderate flame between 2 to 3 minutes, and then we're going to increase the heat to high and heat for additional 5 minutes. So you have to make sure, okay, the crucible do not become red hot. Okay, so you always have to observe the crucible. Okay, make sure it do not become red hot because we do not want the sample to decompose. After the crucible have cooled to room temperature, okay, we're going to weigh the crucible and the anhydrous salt. Okay, so record the mass of the crucible and the anhydrous salt. So next, in order to make sure that all the water had been removed, okay, so we are going to return the crucible, okay, on the triangle gauze, and we're going to reheat again for another 5 minutes. Okay, so since the mass difference is not more than 0.01 gram, okay, so we can take this as our final mass for anhydrous salt and crucible with the lid. Okay, so we can see the difference in color, okay, before and after for copper sulfate. Okay, before is in blue color, and after heating it become white in color.